When people reflect on memorable partnerships in Hollywood, the connection between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner often feels understated compared to louder celebrity stories. Yet their bond carries a quiet depth that stands out precisely because it was never built on publicity or exaggeration. It began at a time when both were navigating important stages in their careers. Whitney was already one of the most celebrated voices in the world, admired for her unmatched vocal ability and emotional delivery. Kevin Costner, meanwhile, was establishing himself as a serious filmmaker and actor, with a growing reputation for thoughtful storytelling. Their paths crossed in a professional setting, but what developed was something more grounded and human. There was mutual respect from the start, shaped by curiosity rather than expectation. They came from different artistic worlds, yet found a shared understanding in creativity and responsibility. Over time, that understanding turned into trust, and that trust would become the foundation for one of the most iconic collaborations in modern film history. What makes their story lasting is not drama, but sincerity, the kind that grows quietly and stays meaningful long after the cameras stop rolling. How? A film found its place. The journey of their collaboration began with a project that had struggled for years to find direction. The story behind The Bodyguard had been written long before it reached the screen, and for a long time it remained uncertain whether it would ever be made. Several studios showed hesitation, unsure about its tone and casting possibilities. Everything changed when Kevin Costner became involved creatively. After his success with earlier projects, he had the influence to revisit scripts that others had overlooked. He saw something compelling in the emotional structure of the story, especially its focus on protection, vulnerability, and connection under pressure. More importantly, he had a strong vision for the lead role opposite him. Rather than choosing a traditional actress, he believed the character needed someone with a rare emotional presence. That belief led him to Whitney Houston. It was not an obvious choice at the time, but it was a thoughtful one. Costner felt that her voice and natural charisma could bring authenticity to the character in a way that acting experience alone might not achieve. This decision would ultimately reshape the entire direction of the film and give it a unique identity. A casting choice that changed everything. When Kevin Costner suggested Whitney Houston for the role, it was met with both curiosity and hesitation within the industry. She was undeniably a global music superstar, but she had no formal acting background in film. Studios tend to prefer predictable choices, especially for large productions, and this decision challenged that comfort zone. However, Costner stood firm in his belief. He saw beyond experience and focused on emotional truth. In his view, the role required someone who could communicate feeling without forcing it, someone whose presence alone could hold attention. Whitney possessed that quality naturally. Her performances on stage already demonstrated storytelling through emotion, even without dialogue. Still, moving into film was a major shift, and it required trust from everyone involved. Costner's support played a key role in convincing others to take the risk. He didn't present her as a guaranteed success, but as someone worth believing in. That distinction mattered. It framed the decision not as a shortcut, but as an artistic choice. Eventually, the production moved forward with her casting, setting the stage for a collaboration that would surprise even those who initially doubted the idea. Whitney's moment of uncertainty and courage. For Whitney Houston, accepting the role was not a simple decision. Despite her extraordinary success in music, stepping into acting brought a different kind of pressure. She was used to commanding stages filled with confidence, but film sets demanded something more subtle and exposed. Acting required her to be observed closely in ways she had never experienced before. Every expression, pause, and movement would be captured and analyzed. That reality created understandable hesitation. She worried about whether she could meet expectations in a field where she was still a newcomer. More than anything, she didn't want to disappoint those who believed in her. Kevin Costner's encouragement played an important role during this period. He did not push her aggressively. Instead, he offered reassurance and belief in her ability to adapt. His confidence gave her space to consider the opportunity differently. Rather than seeing it as a test she might fail, she began to view it as a challenge she could grow into. The decision to accept the role did not erase her doubts, but it showed her willingness to move forward despite them. That choice became an important turning point in her artistic journey. The screen test that revealed character before filming officially began. Whitney Houston underwent a screen test, a standard step in film production that often determines final casting decisions. For her, however, it carried added emotional weight. This was her first real experience being evaluated as an actress, and she approached it with a mix of determination and nervousness. Kevin Costner was present during the process, and he later observed how careful she was with every detail. There was a quiet seriousness in her approach, not because she lacked confidence, but because she genuinely wanted to do well. At one point, she stepped away briefly to gather herself, returning with renewed focus. It was a small moment, but it revealed something important about her character. She was not relying on her fame to carry her forward. Instead, she was actively trying to understand and meet the demands of a new craft. That willingness to adapt impressed those watching. It showed discipline beneath the vulnerability and effort beneath the uncertainty. The screen test ultimately confirmed what Costner had believed from the beginning, that she had an emotional presence capable of translating powerfully on screen, building chemistry through creative trust. As filming progressed, the working relationship between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner began to deepen naturally. What started as professional collaboration slowly evolved into creative understanding. On set, there was a noticeable rhythm between them, not forced, but developed through shared effort. Costner's calm and steady approach to acting provided balance, while Whitney's emotional sensitivity brought warmth and authenticity to their scenes. They learned how to adjust to each other's styles without needing constant discussion. Much of their connection formed during quiet moments between takes, where conversations often shifted away from the script and toward life experiences. They spoke about pressure, expectations, and the responsibility that comes with public recognition. These exchanges helped build trust in a way that felt organic rather than constructed. Over time, that trust became one of the strongest elements supporting the film's emotional tone. It allowed their performances to feel natural rather than rehearsed. The chemistry audiences later recognized on screen was not manufactured. It was the result of patience, understanding, and mutual respect developed throughout the creative process. A song that defined an era. One of the most unforgettable elements of The Bodyguard was Whitney Houston's performance of the song "I Will Always Love You." While it became a defining moment in her career, its impact was not planned as a guaranteed success. It evolved through interpretation and emotional delivery. When Whitney recorded it, she brought a depth of feeling that transformed the song into something entirely new. Her voice carried both strength and vulnerability, creating a contrast that resonated deeply with listeners. The result was a version that felt timeless and universal. It was not simply a soundtrack contribution, it became an emotional centerpiece of the film. Audiences connected with it instantly, and it quickly grew into one of the most recognized vocal performances in music history. For Kevin Costner, hearing the final recording confirmed the instinct he had trusted from the beginning. It demonstrated how the right artistic collaboration can elevate material beyond expectations. The song's success also reinforced Whitney's ability to transcend boundaries between music and storytelling, showing that emotional truth can move across different forms of art with remarkable power. The film's lasting impact on audiences. When The Bodyguard was released, it quickly became more than just a successful film. It turned into a cultural experience that resonated across different audiences. people were drawn not only to its romantic storyline, but also to the emotional honesty carried by its performances. The combination of music, acting, and storytelling created a unique atmosphere that stayed with viewers long after they left the theater. Whitney Houston's performance was widely praised for its sincerity, while Kevin Costner's role provided a steady emotional anchor throughout the narrative. Together, they created a balance that felt both intimate and cinematic. The film's success also highlighted the importance of creative risk-taking in storytelling. Choosing an unconventional lead pairing proved to be a defining strength rather than a limitation. It demonstrated that audiences respond strongly to authenticity when it is presented with care and conviction. Over time, the film became part of popular culture, remembered not just for its story, but for the emotional experience it delivered, a friendship beyond the camera. As filming concluded, the professional relationship between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner evolved into something more lasting. They maintained a friendship that extended beyond the demands of production. While they did not constantly appear together publicly, their connection remained rooted in respect and shared experience. They understood the pressures each faced in their respective careers and found comfort in that understanding. Their conversations often reflected mutual support rather than professional obligation. This kind of friendship is rare in high-pressure creative industries, where relationships are often temporary. What made theirs meaningful was its simplicity. There were no expectations attached to it, only appreciation for what they had created together. Over time, that bond became part of their personal history, tied not only to a film, but to a period of growth in both their lives. It stood as a reminder that meaningful connections in creative work often form quietly, built on trust rather than visibility. A legacy built on trust and artistry. Looking back, the collaboration between Whitney Houston and Kevin Costner represents more than a successful film partnership. It reflects the power of trust in creative decisions and the importance of believing in potential beyond obvious credentials. Their work together showed how artistic risk can lead to lasting impact when guided by respect and vision. Whitney's transition into acting expanded her legacy beyond music, while Costner's conviction helped shape one of the most memorable performances in film history. The story of their collaboration continues to be remembered because it feels genuine rather than constructed. It is a reminder that meaningful art often emerges from moments of uncertainty, where people choose to trust instinct and support one another. Their legacy is not defined by scale alone, but by the emotional truth they brought to their work. Even today, their story continues to inspire discussions about creativity, courage, and the quiet strength of collaboration that leaves a lasting mark on audiences everywhere.